Hey guys, it was such a nice day outside, so I decided to take our reading of Chapter 20 of the GollyWhopper games to my backyard. So we're on page 254, and I apologize if there's some background noise. We are outside. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. Gil counted to himself. If he could make it to 20, he'd have a chance. 9 1,000, 10 1,000, 11. Still no Lavinia. 14 1,000, 15. Her door opened. She handed a bundle of sticks to the official standing there. I feel like such a fool. Did anyone else miss the orange door? You all did, said Carol. Then Rocky. Gil couldn't listen. He could barely breathe. Maybe Lavinia didn't have all her sticks. Maybe she had dropped some on the slide. The officials counted. They conferred. They looked at Gil. Sorry, said the woman. We saw you drop those 4 sticks. If you had only dropped 3... Gil didn't know if she'd let her voice trail off or if he'd stopped hearing. Less than 5 seconds. 1 stick, or Rocky's guarantee. Guaranteed to work. Guaranteed to rattle Gil enough to pause 5 seconds. It wasn't the lost money. It wasn't even the deal with his dad. He'd let Rocky beat him. Gil leaned over, fists on his thighs. Carol put a hand on his back and gave him a bottle of water. Are you okay, Gil? Dizzy from the slide, I guess. You're not the first, she said, walking him to the chair next to the wall. You should have seen me. Major brain roll. So sit and defuzz before Bill takes you to the after lounge. Cameras are off you for a few minutes. With his elbows on his knees, he hung his head. Not fair. He should be exhilarated, energized, and said he needed to suck it up and pretend he was, for the cameras. He took a deep breath and looked up. Lavinia was standing next to him, her eyes glazed with tears. I wanted you and me to be the last. I wanted it to be a real contest. Gil looked over at Rocky. Win for me, Lavinia. Just beat him. He struggled to his feet and gave her a hug. Then he turned to Carol. Where's Bill? Gil didn't wait for her answer. He spotted Bill lurking outside the door. Get me out of here, he said, walking past him without stopping. This is the worst part of my job, Bill said, catching up with him. You get so close to the end and you think, what if? Gil nodded, but that wasn't exactly it. No one would understand except his mom and dad. Where's the loser's lounge? Bill gave a chuckle. Why does everyone want to call it that? The after lounge is the floor above the spectator area. I'll take you there to see your parents. After that, you'll join Bianca and Thorne, and you can watch the action live from any monitor you want. Gil nodded, continued to walk to the spectator area in silence, thankful Bill wasn't trying to cheer him up with happy talk. His mom and dad were waiting right by the door. Gil hadn't needed a hug like this in a long time. Sorry, he said, taking a small step back. Sorry? His dad said. There is nothing to be sorry about. We're so proud. His mom nodded, tears streaming from her eyes. Are you okay? She managed. We were so worried. At the entrance of the maze, you froze. Were you sick? Nervous? Gil ached to tell them about what Rocky had said, but he didn't want to cause a scene right there. Rocky would deny it. Nervous, I guess, he said instead. His dad draped a hand on his shoulder. Don't know if this will make you feel better or not, but I've been thinking about our deal ever since we made it. Gil looked at him, waited. We can start figuring a way to move out of town if you still want. It might be good. Gil had been waiting for months to hear those words, but they didn't even bring a whisper of relief. Maybe he was too tired, too disappointed, too angry. Gil tried to smile. Yeah, said his dad. We'll talk about that later. Bill came up to them and pointed toward the projection on the wall, flashing 5 off and on before it started counting down. That's our cue. Say your goodbyes. You'll see one another soon. Gil's dad gave him another hug. So did his mom. Even if you don't believe it, I couldn't be prouder, she said. Gil nodded. At the 4.5-minute mark, Bill escorted him up a flight of stairs to a near replica of an area where his parents were. There's just one rule we have up here. No talking during the competition. Whispering only. Go ahead in and relax. Bianca rushed up and threw her arms around him. Gil, I'm so happy to see you. I'm sorry to see you, but I'm glad you're here. Her energy put the first smile on his face. I guess you can't win 'em all. I don't think I can win anything, she said. At least I've never won anything. But it's sort of cool up here. You see everything. Like when you drop those sticks. I got so sick to my stomach and... Be back in a minute, Gil said. He couldn't take a play-by-play right now. He went over to Thorne. who was sitting with his back to the games. "Hey." Thorn handed Gil a piece of paper. "Where does onion dip come from? How do you make grilled cheese sandwiches? Where can I learn to climb? How do my clothes get clean? Who can teach me to bowl? How do you set up a computer?" Gil laughed, handed the paper back to Thorn. "At least it's a start," Thorn said. He wrote a number 7. Gil drifted back to Bianca. "So where's the best place to sit?" he asked. She grabbed his wrist, pulling him a quarter way around the lounge. They moved the rooms up over here so we can see everything, except for the maze puzzle. We had to use the monitors to see most of it. "Are you going to watch?" "Yeah," Gil said. "If the next game is a puzzle, I'm going to try to work it. I need to know if I would have beaten Rocky or Lavinia if I hadn't messed up." Gil took a stadium seat at the rail and looked down into a pair of muted blue rooms. Each one had a large work desk at the rear, then 25 smaller desks arranged 5 by 5. Those desks each supported a computer monitor with a different screensaver. "When do we get the puzzle?" Gil asked. Bianca pointed to the arm of his chair. "It's so cute. When the chimes ring, it pops open, and the puzzle's inside. Pencils, paper, on the table back there." The clock on the wall showed 43 seconds until the next puzzle. Gil got something to write with, sat back down, and watched Carol lead Lavinia and Rocky to 2 doors. Carol's voice came through speakers in their area. "In a minute," she said, "you'll go through your door and head to the large desk in the back of the room. Your puzzle will be there." "Yeah," said Bianca, "you get to hear Carol and everyone with her, but if you want to hear Rocky and Lavinia, you need these headphones." She pointed to the pair near his knee. He wouldn't be using those. He wanted quiet, and definitely not all this coughing. "Is there any way not to hear Mr. Titus?" "Is that who it is? He's so annoying," said Bianca. "He was coughing all during the menu puzzle. Then I thought he was gone or dead because he was mostly quiet during the maze. But I guess he's back. Prepare to be annoyed." The cough came again. Carol and Rocky looked up. Lavinia stayed focused on the door. Blong! The arm of Gil's chair popped open. He pulled out the puzzle, then shut the arm. He wouldn't look at it yet. Wouldn't look at it until Rocky and Lavinia both got to their desks. Rocky sat, ripped open his envelope, then Lavinia did. Gil opened his. "There's much in a name, so they say. You'll find out without much delay. If you choose the right one before you've begun, go on now, get ready to play. Add Pole to my first name nickname. Cut my second part short in this game. Both give you a clue, now discount the 2 and mix up the name that remains. When you've straightened this jumbled up rhyme, you've practically finished your climb. Just choose the right screen with the right picture scene and enter your answer in time." If Gil were down there, he'd be panicking again. Eventually, he'd push past his pounding heart and sweaty palms and remember to take this puzzle one step at a time. But up here, he had nothing to lose. He'd never truly know how he would have finished. Forget it. He put on the headphones, tuned into Rocky's microphone, and looked at the close-up monitor of his desk. He was doodling, tapping his pencil and doodling, and humming. Gil switched to Lavinia. She was silent, but she'd written "name?" at the top of her paper. If Gil were doing it, he'd have 2 names up there, Golly Toy and Game Company and Thaddeus G. GollyWhopper. This was another company question, the first of today. Which name would Gil start with? The puzzle said, "Add Pole to my first name nickname." Companies don't have nicknames, people do. Gil would go with Thaddeus G. GollyWhopper. Cough, 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 cough. Someone give Mr. Titus a cough drop. Cough, cough. Gil switched the headphones back to Rocky, who stopped humming and started writing some words next to the lines in the poem. His hand, though, blocked what he'd written. Gil couldn't just sit here, watching nothing. He grabbed his pencil and listed the pictures on the 25 computer screens. Apple tree, pretzels, island, scissors, chef, clock, bowling alley, polar bear, telephone, tiger, frog, football, art stuff, movie camera, book, dancer, train, pole vaulter, map, birthday cake, Santa, dollar signs, mountain, teacher, candy. By the time he'd finished, Lavinia had finally written Thaddeus G. GollyWhopper at the top of her page. Gil wasn't even trying, and he was still one long step ahead of her. He looked at the puzzle again. Add Pole to my first name and nickname. Easy. They told him the nickname for Thaddeus in the Zena's Cafe puzzle. Tadpole. What you doing, Lavinia? It's not Thad or Thaddy or Deuce. Tad. It's Tad. Caw. Will someone please take that man to the hospital? Whispered Bianca. Ba-choo! Caw. Rocky didn't seem to worry. He wrote more, and the camera, now at a different angle, showed everything. Next to There's Much in a Name, So They Say, Rocky had written Golly Toy and Game Company equals stock market symbol, GOLTAGACO, which made some sense, but the words after 4 other lines made no sense. Add Pole to my first name nickname. First name equals GOL plus Pole. Cut my second part short in this game, Taga. Now discount the 2. Discount equals shorten equals Pole Taga. And mix up the name that remains. Pole Taga Company. Mix it up. Rocky circled Pole Taga Company, then started rearranging some of the letters. Gack, Pappy, Tag, Map. Map! And there he goes, said Bianca. Rocky popped out of his chair and weaved up and down the rows of computers, looking at each monitor. He paused an extra 2 seconds at the one with the map from the Octagon Map video game before he returned to his desk. Octagon Map, he wrote. Then he crossed the corresponding letters from Pole Taga Company, circled the play left, then charged out of his seat again, fists pumping in victory. Gil sank back in his seat. Maybe it was just as well. Rocky wins. Then Gil tells his parents what Rocky said, and maybe they all learn the truth. Rocky returned to the Octagon Map monitor. He laced his fingers together, turned them inside out, and stretched his arm to crack his knuckles before he sat down like a maestro about to perform a piano concerto in Carnegie Hall. Mr. Titus started coughing again, but the sound was coming out in sharp barks instead of syllables. Rocky shook his head and poised his fingers on the keyboard. All he had to do was type his answer. Then bells would chime and alarms would ring and the heavens would open and shine on him and poor Lavinia would be devastated. She probably thought she'd get this one right. She was scribbling on her pad of paper, no clue she might have already lost. Rocky flashed a full-faced grin to the camera and typed, Play Octagon Map. He pressed enter, and the screen flashed. The Octagon Map logo reappeared at the top half of the screen. The bottom read, Play Octagon Map. Starting point? Mr. Titus's cough came back even sharper. Rocky casually ran his fingers across his throat, exactly as he'd done when Gil had made him tell his dad to quit the signals. I know this, said Rocky. Get ready, Santa. This is going to be one monster Christmas in August for me. He typed North Pole. Cack! The Octagon Map logo remained at the top, but the bottom half came back with Who? Cack! Rocky ignored the cough again and typed Santa at the prompt. Hey, Gil, whispered Bianca. How's everyone supposed to know this? Buzz! No trumpets, no light shows, no fireworks. The monitor flashed, Sorry, try again. Apparently no one was supposed to know this, but Gil knew he could still figure out the real answer first. At least he had to try. He still had tadpole on his paper. Next, cut my second part short in this game. The second part had to be the middle name. The name Gil was never excited about. The name written on every annual report. Thaddeus Gilbert GollyWhopper. Gil did what he had done his whole life. He got rid of the Bert and was left with Gil. And tadpoles had gills. This was working. Now discount the 2. Rocky had shortened it, but discount meant something else, like ignore. Like when the judge says, Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, please discount the testimony you just heard. Discount. Make them not count. He drew a box around the 2 words as if to set them aside, ready to use if he needed them for clues. What came next? And mix up the name that remains. One name remained. GollyWhopper. Just one step more. Mix it up and find a real word. Gil loved anagrams. He was good at anagrams, but his father was better. He wrote GollyWhop in the space below the discounted words: tadpole, gill or gills, and GollyWhop. It was so simple, so simple. If all the letters were there, he wrote down P, then crossed the P out of GollyWhop to make sure he didn't use the same letter twice. Then he wrote the O and the L and crossed them out. The other L, the I, W, another O, and the G. Bingo! Tadpole, gills, pollywog. Gil looked down. There, it's there, Lavinia. The screen with the frog. Come on, Lavinia, it's pollywog. The answer's pollywog. Go! Type in, ladies and gentlemen, a voice boomed over the speaker system. We're having major technical difficulties. Please hold tight. We'll be back in a minute. The monitors in the viewing area went blank. So did the computer screens down below. Carol hustled to Rocky's room, Bill to Lavinia's. Then Carol and Bill whisked both players out of sight fast.